Hello buddies, welcome back to Mouse Recaps, with me, Alex, still in the house. In this episode I'll bring a plot from a film called Death Race. Be aware of spoiler. Be careful and watch out. This film tells the story of a race accompanied by a mechanical fight in the middle of the track. The film is directed by Paul W.S. Anderson, starring Jason Statham, Tyrese Gibson, and Natalie Martinez. Without wasting time, let's get straight into the storyline of the Dead Race movie. Take a nice seat, use your AirPods, bring your snack, and enjoy the show.
At 2012, the United States economy collapses, unemployment hits a record high. Crime rates spiral out of control, the prison system reaches breaking point. Private corporations now run all correctional facilities for profit. Terminal Island Penitentiary streams a series of cage fights live on the internet. Prisoners fight to the death, creating a ratings sensation. They are the new gladiators, and Terminal Island is their coliseum. But like the mob of ancient Rome, the modern audience soon becomes bored. Death Race is born.
By the time he gets home, it is already night. Jensen goes upstairs to check on his baby after greeting his wife. He doesn't know that a masked criminal is using this time to break into the house and kill his wife. When Jensen goes back to the kitchen, the man knocks him out, puts the murder weapon in Jensen's hand, and leaves while making a shooting motion with his gloved hand. Jensen wakes up just as the police are taking him into custody for killing his wife. 6 months later, Jensen was sent to Terminal Island Prison. Guard Ulrich sprayed him with cold water, let another officer hit him, and put him in a cell with 3 other prisoners who planned to beat him up. Ulrich checks on him because he wants to see him in trouble, but Jensen is a good fighter and has already knocked out all of his cellmates. The next morning, Jensen eats breakfast in the chow hall while Coach, Gunnar, and Lists watch. Lists knows Jensen as a former record holder driver whose accident ended his career. When Pachenko and his friend come up to Jensen to make him angry, they first spit on his food and then call him a woman killer and a child abuser. This makes everyone in the room stop talking. Jensen reacts by jumping on Pachenko and trying to beat him up. The police soon show up and take Jensen to see Claire Hennessy, who is in charge of the prison. She has seen Jensen's record and knows he is a great driver, so she makes him an offer. She wants him to be the new Frankenstein. The real one died on the operating table after his last race, but no one knows this yet, so anyone could take his place under the mask. Frank was a fan favorite and a very inspiring legend. Hennessy doesn't want the world to know he's dead because she needs the legend to live on and bring back the ratings, which have dropped a lot since the real Frank died. The rules say that if you win 5 races, you can go home. Since Frankenstein had already won 4, Jensen would only need to win 1 more. Jensen is still unsure about putting his life at risk for this, but Hennessy threatens him with being locked up alone if he doesn't agree, so he can't tell anyone her secret. Jensen doesn't have a choice but to agree. After that, he is taken to the prison's auto shop, where he meets Coach and his men, who are in charge of Frankenstein's car and will teach Jensen the basics. Each team has its own pit, and no one helps each other. There is also a big shop where Hennessy has been building something secretly for a month. Hennessy has complete control over the prison, so only his team and a few guards will know that Jensen is the new Frankenstein. Then Coach shows him the car he'll be driving, which is a modified Mustang V8 Fastback. It has both defensive and offensive tools, but prisoners can't use it to try to escape because it doesn't get loaded with ammunition until race day. The prison is on an island, so the only way out is through a small bridge that would be swarmed by police cars and helicopters at the first sign of a prison break. Once Jensen knows how the car works, he and the rest of the team talk in the prison's backyard. In the first 2 stages, he has to try to get rid of as many competitors as he can. In the 3rd stage, speed is the key to getting to the finish line. All of the drivers have a navigator with them. These are girls from the women's facility. Joe is the only person who doesn't follow this rule. He prefers to have a teammate instead of a girl as his navigator because he goes through girls so quickly that it makes the audience queasy. Liszt then starts telling Jensen about the most important drivers, who are all in the yard with them. 14K is a member of the Triad and went to MIT. Hector Grimm is a certified psychopath who worships Hennessy. Slovo Pachenko is the leader of the Aryan Brotherhood in the prison. Travis Colt is a disgraced former NASCAR star. Joe and his team come over and insult Jensen. They also leave a message for Frankenstein saying that this race is only between him and Jensen. Right now, a van brings back some prisoners who have been doing work detail. Jensen notices that they are wearing something strange on their wrists, GPS tracking bracelets. This makes him realize that the man who killed his wife was also wearing one. When it's time for the first stage of the race, Jensen wears Frank's clothes, mask, and even ring, which brings back all the viewers the show had lost. Coach tells him not to talk to the other drivers because Frank didn't. It was part of his mystique. However, he can take off his mask inside the car because the windows are made of mirrored glass and Case also knows the secret. Jensen asks her what she's in prison for as she gets ready, and she tells him that she killed a cop because he was a bad husband to her. The race starts a moment later. Since weapons don't go off until the second of 3 laps, the beginning isn't very violent, but the drivers still try to push each other off the track. Case knows the area well, so it's easy for Jensen to go head-to-head with Joe at the front. When Case shows Jensen a shortcut, he can pass Joe and move into first place. Then, Hennessy turns on the shield and weapons, which are activated by driving over manholes with all 4 wheels. Soon, everyone on the track starts shooting, and when Hennessy turns on the death heads, Grimm kills a minor driver by pushing his car into one of them. He also makes Joe fall behind by shooting oil at his car, but he loses the race when 14K pushes him off the track with a missile and Joe runs him over. Jensen, meanwhile, gets the weapons to work, but the machine gun gets stuck. Case gets on the hood of the car to fix it, which makes the others shoot at her. Jensen is skilled enough to avoid all of them, though, and Case is safe in the passenger seat when he gets back. Jensen steals a defense manhole from Colt, but just like with old Frank, none of his defense systems will work and the back shield won't last much longer. Jensen comes up with a plan right away. He makes Case take the napalm off the chair and sit on his lap so he can throw the chair with the napalm on it. It hits Colt's car, which is now covered in napalm. Case throws the car's lighter at it, which sets it on fire and takes Colt out of the race. Now that Colt is gone, Jensen goes up against Joe again, but he is suddenly distracted by Pachenko, who makes the same hand gesture at him that the man who killed his wife did before leaving. Joe uses this to his advantage and pushes Jensen's car back, which puts him in last place and gives Pachenko first place. 3 drivers have already died, and only 6 will move on to the next stage. After the race, Coach and his team check the car and see that all of the gadgets are working. This doesn't explain why they didn't work when they needed to. Jensen goes to see Hennessy to tell her he won't race anymore because he knows Pachenko killed his wife and that everything has been set up to make him look guilty so Hennessy could find a new driver to replace Frankenstein. She doesn't admit it, but she does show him a picture of his daughter and the foster home where she is now. She does this to remind Jensen that he needs to play along if he wants to see his daughter again. Jensen goes back to the yard to talk to Coach because he can't do anything about it. He asks Coach why he doesn't wear a number. Coach says that he is technically no longer a prisoner because he was released 3 years ago, but he just couldn't cross the gate. Too much had changed in the world, and he liked how the races were the same. He also doesn't believe Jensen killed his wife. Later that night, Jensen is working on his car when he sees Pachenko walking by. He decides to follow him to his pit, but Pachenko's team catches him there. He punches Jensen a few times before getting a big tool to smash his head, even though Hennessy is there to protect him. Liszt stops him by stabbing him in the back with a pen. Jensen uses the distraction to pick up a piece of metal from the ground and stab his captor. He then knocks out both his captor and his friend before going after Pachenko. He punches him, throws him around, and hits him with different boxes until Pachenko says Hennessy made him kill his wife and Ulrich was the one who took him there. When Jensen was about to kill him out of anger, Ulrich and another guard showed up and stopped the fight. The next day, right before the second stage of the race starts, Pachenko teases Jensen by making the same hand gesture at him. But Jensen doesn't give in to the trick. Instead, he drives slowly on purpose and goes through a tunnel to talk to Case in private. He thinks it's strange that the car's gadgets broke down in 2 races in a row, so he asks her if she killed Frank. If she doesn't answer, he threatens to kick her out of the car. Case says she broke Frank's back weapons because she thought Hennessy would let her go if she did. Frank was killed by accident when he tried to win without any weapons. Hennessy's goal was to make Frank lose so that Frank would stay in prison and race for the public. Now that he knows the answer, Jensen speeds up and easily slides back into the race. For now, he doesn't care about Joe. His goal this time is to catch Pachenko. After trying to push each other off the track and failing, Jensen drives ahead and takes the weapons manhole instead of defense. Everyone is confused because the weapons are in the front of the car. Jensen surprises everyone by suddenly turning the car around and opening fire on Pachenko while driving backward. After he has done enough damage to the other car, he turns around again and hits the smoke, which makes Pachenko crash into a concrete wall. Then Jensen stops his car and gets out to get back at Pachenko for killing his wife. He walks up to him and breaks his neck. Because of this and the fact that Joe changed his navigator in the middle of the race, Hennessy decides that now is the right time to show off what she's been working on, a tanker truck called Dreadnought that can carry multiple weapons. This truck is very strong and catches up to the drivers quickly, killing 2 of the smaller competitors right away. Since it belongs to the warden, it can also go inside the buildings. This gives it an advantage and lets it get to the front of the race faster. The Dreadnought kills 14K's navigator slowly, then grabs his car with chains and shoots at it until it blows up, leaving Jensen and Joe alone. They can't beat such a monster without a plan, so Jensen asks Lists to connect his communicator to Joe's car, and they agree to work together. They put their cars on either side of the truck and try to avoid any attacks. When a trap manhole appears in front of them, they each hit it with 2 wheels, giving it the 4 hits it needs to go off. This makes the tap rise, which makes the truck crash into it. Now that the second stage of the race is over, only Jensen and Joe will make it to the next stage. Later that night, Joe goes to Jensen's pit to tell him that his voice sounds suspiciously like Frank's, but he doesn't press him for answers. Ulrich and Hennessy decide that they need to kill Jensen because the Frankenstein mask can still be worn by someone else in the future. The next day, before the race starts, Ulrich puts a bomb under Jensen's car while Hennessy gives a speech about how racing is the purpose of their lives. When she says that this might be the first time someone could win their freedom with a 5th win, Jensen realizes that the races are always set up to get rid of anyone who might win for the 5th time. That's why no one has ever done it before, so Jensen won't be able to win today either. When Coach hears this, he decides to show Jensen a very important part of a video of Grimm's death once they are allowed to go back to the auto shop. This gives him an idea for a plan, so he asks Lists to add a half-gallon reserve tank to his car before going to Joe's pit to ask him to work with him again. Hennessy comes to see Jensen while he is putting on Frank's clothes and gives him his release papers. She also makes him a new deal. If he wins, she wants him to stay in prison and keep being Frankenstein because that is where he belongs. She says he doesn't have what it takes to be a dad and that an ex-con couldn't give his daughter a good life, so staying would be a very selfless act of love. Jensen goes to the race without telling her yet what he's going to do, but he does put the papers in his pocket. When Case gets in his car, he tells her that Hennessy also talked to her and asked her to stop Jensen if he was about to win, but he doesn't worry about it. As soon as the race starts, Ulrich starts controlling the manholes so that they only open when Joe goes over them. As soon as he can, he starts shooting at Jensen. His back shield takes so much damage that Jensen decides to drop it. But Joe easily avoids it because Frank did the same thing and taught him how to do it. Hennessy turns on a defense manhole for Jensen to take so that the audience stays interested. However, Joe fires a rocket at it, destroying it. He still has more rockets, so he fires them all at Jensen. Jensen jumps out of the way, and the rockets hit a wall. This wall was behind Grim when he died, and that old explosion has already made it weaker. So, Jensen and Joe planned their attacks for today so that they would hit the weak spot. Now, the rockets hit it for a final blow that opens a hole and lets them get out of the prison. Hennessy is so angry that he cuts off the stream and sends all the police officers he can find after them. He then presses the bomb's detonator, but nothing happens. The bomb was already taken out of the car and turned off by Coach and his men. Joe and Jensen make it to the bridge, but the police cars are getting closer, so it's time for the next part of his plan. Jensen lets out that extra half-gallon of gas, which hits the cars behind them and causes an explosion and a wall of fire that stops any other cars from chasing them. Both of the prisoners are able to get through the bridge gates and go in different directions, so the helicopters can only follow Jensen, who is the most important of the two. As Joe drives away, Case agrees to help Jensen with the last part of his plan because she owes it to Frank, and Hennessy has already given her the release papers, so they'll have to let her go. When they drive by some construction cranes, Jensen jumps out of the car and hides in their shadows while Case takes over driving. She can only drive a few more miles before she is stopped by a wall of fire from the helicopters. When she gets out of the car with her hands up, she is wearing Frank's clothes and mask. Since most people don't know about the identity swap, the police arrest her and take her back to the prison. This lets Jensen escape and meet up with Joe so they can get on a freight train together. Back in the prison offices, Ulrich says that the ratings are off the charts and that congratulations gifts are already coming in. When Hennessy opens the gift box he brought, he finds the bomb that Ulrich had put under Jensen's car. When the bomb goes off, it kills both Hennessy and Ulrich. Coach can be seen pressing the detonator outside on the track. After 6 months, Joe and Jensen have moved to Santa Rosalia, Mexico, to start a new life. They are both mechanics and work together in their own auto shop. Jensen has gotten custody of his daughter back. Case also goes to see them after her release papers are finally taken care of. She brings a racing car for them to look at.
That was all from video. Thumbs up if you like this video, thumbs down if you don't. Do not forget to turn on your notifications to get more videos like this. Thanks for watching, and see you.